Hi everybody, welcome to the Brand Nubian review for the album One for All, as requested by our patron Jonathan Barnes.
That's right.
Thank you very much for being with us today as we go through every single song through Brand Nubian's One for All, or likely the first half of the album in this two-part format that we do. This is the Classic Quest podcast.
That's right.
This is the show where we talk about the classic albums track by track, giving thoughts and opinions in every song. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
I am your lady friend, Bonnie.
And one more time for the YouTube people listenings, we are talking about Brand Nubian's project, One for All, released in 1990. Oh, snap.
Not to be confused with All for One, which would make you think of the Three Musketeers. Are they still trying to think of the Three Musketeers?
I think that might be a little inspiration. But we recognize who we are talking about this project. We just go through this every week. We come up in here and we have this deep desire to grow and to learn and to kind of absorb from the music and just kind of enhance our overall, understanding of the culture.
Yeah.
And so we are very open to your comments and we care a lot about what you think. And last week, or a couple of weeks ago, because we were late, we talked about the first half of Joe Budden's All Love Lost album. And on that, we got a comment from Ismail Gadamsi in response to myself, who had said that I wasn't sure who else was good emo rappers, because Joe Budden's so emo. And he said, Slug and Idea are the best emo rappers. Slug from Atmosphere, Idea there. And it's like, they are pretty good emo rappers, but it's a different kind of emo. Maybe not Slug, but Idea was definitely a different kind of emo to me.
Right. Yeah.
I digress. Before we get into it, I do care a lot about your comments, so feel free to leave them. We would love to learn from you, especially when talking about a group like Brand Nubian. It's you guys might be able to help and educate us as we go through the process. And special thanks in advance to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black Hurricane, Linda Williams, Coney Sparks. They're dope. You just like to shout them out while you're still watching. And on that note, why don't you reintroduce the album that we will be talking about today?
Yep. So one more time, we are doing Brand Nubian's One for All album, which came out December 4th, 1990. So almost, close enough in terms of date as to right now. So the cover is just like these, four guys and like brightly colored jackets, which were, I guess, cool back then. And then, the guy in the front is just wearing regular glasses, and the other three behind him are wearing sunglasses. So maybe that means something, like he's, the lead, I guess, and these other guys are, in his, group.
I feel like I should be able to identify them, but I really can't.
I know who one of them is.
Either way. This usually,
I was looking at it, hold on.
But yeah, so that's definitely them on the cover. And I assume one of them's the DJ.
I knew who Lord Jamar was.
I think he's on the right, to be honest, in the yellowish one. But
yeah.
Otherwise, there's Grand Puma and Sadat X. And then I'm assuming it's the DJ dude. I'm not really sure. I forgot to look up who that person was.
I think maybe Grand Puma is the front one. Maybe.
I'm not really sure.
Let me look up. It's hard to try and find well, I guess not. Hold on.
Honestly, I'm not sure that's the most interesting part of anything, really. The title One for All does give that kind of call for unity. It just kind of lets you think of, they're just more than just the fact that there's three rappers, the Three Musketeers, but it almost makes it kind of sound like a mission statement for a bunch of people of like-mindedness to call together to group, for, unity.
Yeah.
But we do like to start off the show is kind of just letting you know where we're at with our familiarity with Brand Nubian or the various artists, because if you were a young person bumping Brand Nubian in 1990, your impressions of this project in 2019 might be extremely different than, say, ours would be coming into it. And in my case, I've never listened to Brand Nubian's music before this.
Ditto.
I know who they are, and I've heard Lord Jamar's production before. I know who Lord Jamar is. It's if you follow hip-hop media at all and you like DJ Vlad in any way, and I do enjoy DJ Vlad's interviews sometimes, it's impossible to avoid Lord Jamar and his opinions to a point where I know that I'm a guest in his opinion, in the house of hip hop, being that I'm a white dude. So, you know, I kind of follow where he's coming at it, which, you know, Brand Nubian's just, I guess, always then been one of those names where knowing Lord Jamar and his opinions are affiliated with that group has, I guess, been something where I'm kind of glad we're talking about it with my deeper level of understanding of things as opposed to maybe a shallower level of understanding, because I might have found him maybe a little preachier once upon a time than I do today, where I feel like I kind of empathize with Lord Jamar. Here's the thing, I don't bump Eminem's music anymore either. Like, it's just facts. Like Lord Jamar, I'm kind of on his side on the Eminem debate. He's really hot with kids, not with grown-ups. That's just, nobody's having that conversation because everyone's too focused on some dumbassery with that shit. But the truth is, Eminem made a bunch of choices to pander to 17-year-olds, and most of us are grown-ups, so it's hard to connect with that shit, and it doesn't really resonate with what a lot of us grown-ups want to listen to.
Yep.
However, I would have to give credit that the One for All album does touch on subject matter for grown-ups, so kudos. But anyway, I just wanted to poke some fires on the Eminem Lord Jamar beef, because it's the stupidest shit that Lord Jamar, it just sounds like Lord Jamar currently is doing everything he can to get views by using Eminem's name, because I don't really know what the battle he's fighting is, and Gucci Mane said it first. Anyway, what about you? Do you know who Brand Nubian is before this?
Nope.
Fair. Okay, that was very cheap. I mean, I already talked about the cover a little bit, but I kind of like the fact that they're inside of like this, what it looks like under like an arc or some like place where boats, like they're outside. Like I just picture like boats go with that kind of house looking thing, and you can kind of see the sky beneath it, and it looks like they're in just kind of like a nice place, you know, chilling. But they don't, like, they all kind of look tough, but they, except for I guess Mr. Puma, who does not look very tough. And I don't know, I'm about to comment on it, but I do like the coloring on the border surrounding it. And I think it's interesting that it's a picture with what appears to be like a customized picture frame, and the Brand Nubian and the One for All almost come off like engraved plaque things on top of that.
And also, too, like, it's very, like, Afrocentric, like, in terms of, like, the design that's kind of on the outside, which is kind of like a theme that's a little bit throughout their album as well. So I thought that was kind of like a touch on that.
I mean, I kind of like the name Brand Nubian as a name because it kind of like plays on brand new and then like a new twist on Nubian, which it's actually a pretty fire name. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyway, also, we know we're white. Just trying to throw it out there. All for One is the first track on this project. Okay, we got to start with Jamar. Why? Because, I mean, I've listened to that guy talk for years now. Listened to plenty of hours of him. I even watched his podcast with the nice lady and stuff. Like, I think it's really interesting. But there was just a lyric that popped out at me right off the jump. Mm-hmm. I'll make like a door and slam, fine. But then the girls try to turn my knob because I'm a heartthrob. And I'm like, I guess a young Jamar's kind of, he's a cute guy, I guess. Mm-hmm. I guess it's just a hazard that comes with the job. I'm like, fair. Because every time I rock a rhyme that shows Jamar is intellectual, girls want to get sexual. And I'm like, holy shit. In my anecdotal life, I have rocked rhymes that proved I was intellectual. And the byproduct is that girls wanted to get sexual. And I guess I wasn't expecting on the first track to connect with Lord Jamar in such a visceral way. That apparently we like to play that sapiosexual game. We want them smart chicks who like the smart boys. And cool, Lord Jamar. We homies now. That's how I'm starting to feel a little bit. Anyway, how do you think about this track?
I mean, like, right away, like, I was digging, or am digging, the beat and, like, the...
So good.
Like, it's really fun. I love the rhymes. I didn't really find that there was, like, a story, but more just, like, flowing and making cool rhymes. And just, like, the overall... Just, like, overall being great. Like, it's pretty good. And, like, that's kind of, like, what they're singing about, that they're the best and whatever. And... Yeah, I mean, Sadat X? I don't know. I think he went by, like, 2 different names.
I think his name is Sadat X, and Derek, I think, is the other name he goes by, is his government.
Right.
So they're both
I guess. I don't know. He was my least favorite so far, but, like, I just was, like, he was the one that I noticed that stood out to me as, like, being, like, a little less good. but doesn't mean that he wasn't great. I don't know. It's just fun and enjoyable, and like that they live like by example. And I just thought it was like a fun song to like introduce their style, because it's pretty like, I mean, it's very like maybe of the times, a little bit more like of what was happening at the time. But for me, it's like a fun throwback, I guess. So I gave it a 4.3 on 5.
Fair enough. I like the fact that the beat's fucking great. I mean, it just is this, like, a good example of sampling done right, where it just flows in. Like, this doesn't feel like 1990. The production, the engineering, like, it all feels a few years.
It kind of sounds like
It feels better than the 1990 stuff that we've heard. It feels like a couple, like 93-ish.
Okay.
You know, like,
yeah.
like it feels more advanced. Like, honestly, like, people heard this shit and learned a couple things type of feel. Not to say that there wasn't good shit. Like, you know, we've come across quite a few great producers of this era. But I was a little surprised to see that this album was in 1990. Now, as you may know, for those who noticed in the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about listening to these tracks on my elliptical a lot, because that's kind of what's been happening in my life.
Yeah.
And you can put these tracks, any one of them, honestly, the whole album from a beat point of view, on loops and just listen to it for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes in a row, the same song. And it's just good, groovy, like bouncy kind of stuff. Like, you can feel the live element. You can feel like how this would be so good to dance to. And I really appreciate just how well it is. Another thing to comment on is on all three of the dudes, they're, from like the literal skill of rapping, they're so tight. Every syllable is clear and enunciated. The rhythms are interesting and flow over the beats in like a way that, again, it feels later than 1990. It feels like really impressive to me. Like, the fact that it's 1990 makes me doubly impressed by how like good it actually sounds.
Okay, fair.
On top of that, they sound fucking smart, and they're actually saying some interesting shit. A little bit of corny stuff too, like quick to toast an MC just like an English muffin. But on the other hand, it's nice to toast an English muffin and put some butter on it. That's quite delicious. Don't worry about a thing, because the Pooba's never bluffing. That's Grand Pooba on the first verse. I get headaches from the wax, so I take a buffer and a max. I wait until the opportune time, then I tax, but should I max? Now they say sinning is for sinners, so I guess I'm not a sinner. Beginnings for beginners, so I guess I'm no beginners. It's not like the greatest, but it's also really not bad. It's really like, it flows well. Like, this is gonna have to be one of those reviews where I don't go like so fucking like literal like deep poetics. We're not quite there yet. But on the other hand, it's interesting how he establishes himself as a good person, right? I'm not a sinner, because sinning's for losers. It's like I have like integrity and shit with how I stand and stuff. I like quality. I'm ready to go. I'm not a liar, you know? I put money in my pocket, whatnot. And, you know, it just like, I can think of many, a line that really popped out to me is, and I can think of many episodes I swung in Linkin Park. And I realized something. That's actually sampled on Linkin Park's Rihanna, their remix album on the song High Voltage.
All right.
And it just clicked. Anyway, because it says Linkin Park. That's why. Anyway, no, I'm not a phony, and I got a tenderoni. Love the way she is. Not too fat, not too bony. Don't drink Sanka, won't sink like a tanker. Not the boots off a skirt and Casablanca, and I thank her. See, he has manners. And it's just definitely like, look, this song, at least on the, is going to be on what I'm going to call the more airy, goofy, fun side of stuff. Like, you can just throw this on and have a good time, and it overall kind of feels proper. So that X comes through, and I feel like he's got a great contrast to the smooth, goofy. Like Grand Poobah makes me think of a teddy bear. So that X is a little rougher, a little more like punch into it. Plus the music video, I did watch it. I also don't remember much from it, except it was dark in the video. But I watched it for those who was there. I just don't remember it. That means it was probably a really typical looking video, and Lord Jamar looked like a fucking kid. That's the only thing I can remember. I like when Sadat X is like to Mike Adelphia, I go to self and still be slamming. The school bells ringing and I caught somebody cramming for the test. Oh yes, my study guide was thick. I caught you with my verbal, didn't hurt you, just a nick. I just kind of like the way he flows it. I like the way it kind of has this more juvenile style to it. And then it's a little dangerous. Like, I cut you with my verbal, but it didn't really hurt you. It's just a little nick. Like, I'm giving you a warning shot with where I'm coming from. I don't know. I really liked it, but I take care of them before I take care of others. Sorry, to the rare I'm out of here. Don't front on my brothers. I take care of them before I take care of others. The wood bats is doom in the 90s. It's aluminum. Step to the stage with a mic and I'm doing them something awful. I'm a citizen and I'm lawful. I go to Hunter in the fall, rip the policeman's ball. And again, you just get the sense that he's a kind of decent guy. He takes care of his own. And I like the fact that as much as it's really goofy and kind of weird as shit, it's also different in the sense that they're dropping the kind of community building ethics off the jump to kind of take that little twist that instead of being a criminal or a badass or a person, whatever, I'm going to be a good guy. It seems to be like the mantra that's kind of running it through. Also, what really stuck out to me is he took the time to delete all the curses. So moms, reach deep in your purses and buy me, take me home and try and do me well, which is a little call out to another track on the album that we'll be talking about.
Yep.
Try to do me. It's a song. Anyway, we'll get there. It's later on. And I thought that was nifty because how smart is that? You want to fuck the moms, which it's a good time. You cut the cussing out so that they can play the music in front of their kids, gets it in their minds, plus it shows you're a little respectful. And I kind of like the fact that as much as they're good guys, you know...
They're in it for the...
They're in it for reasons you can relate to, and they're almost showing you... And it's just because it's related to another theory. They're showing you that by being a good guy, you get action in your life. Yeah. And I have a theory that if Quebec... as a government, were to tell the young men that are English speaking that by learning to speak French they could fuck Quebec women easier, that more men would learn to speak French. And I know it sounds like a way, but if we tried it, maybe the young men who hate French
usually when you get like a French girlfriend or boyfriend, like I feel like everybody like learns French immediately.
If you find out that you know, you're going to end up with blowjobs for speaking French, you're incentivized to speak French more. And I know it sounds a little bit perverse, but it might work a little better. Anyway, then Lord Jamar comes in and he kind of, I would say he sounds like an in-between of the two. And I like the way he flows. So the three of them really work together. I kind of like later on when he's like, whips rhymes into shape with a mic cord. I do it because I'm a positive black man, eating up suckers as if I was Pac-Man, not a Dapper Dan fan. I stay casual to rock like the J. It comes gradual. And I kind of like the fact that he brings up Dapper Dan with the fancy suits and him kind of representing that side of hip hop and being like, nah, I'm just kind of a regular dude and whatnot. And then I thought that was nice, and understand your culture of freedom, power, equality with the gods, so you can build and born your cipher. All your life must teach truth of the true and living God. And I'm like, damn, they really lay it on all the fun and goofy. Then Lord Jamar comes in and goes, oh yeah, and fucking be a proper motherfucking person. I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, but yeah.
Yep.
And I really appreciate that. And when you do that, pursue that goal, which made the student enroll, and only then you'll prosper. And I suppose I can appreciate him pushing spiritual wealth on his community as being a really positive thing, especially in the modern era. And I can't say Eminem ever did that. So kudos, Lord Jamar. Mm-hmm. Props to you for that point of what you did in 1990. Anyway, not to say anything about Lord Jamar right now. So how did you feel about this track, though, in terms of a grade? I really don't remember if you gave one.
I gave it a 4.3 on 5.
Very cool.
So it feels so good.
All right, Bonnie, how do you feel about this track?
Well, I mean, this one is very fun.
What was the sigh? Is it that bad?
No. I'm just like, I don't know. This one is fun. I like this one, and it's clearly it gives you like the feeling of them being like a team and that they kind of like play off of each other the way that they kind of like go back and forth. And so I like that it's sort of like they're tight, like they're friends.
Fair enough.
Laura Jamar's part, you know how I would always love like buddies and stuff like that, you know. So Laura Jamar's part on this one is not really using like material things to like change your look. He likes natural women.
Oh yeah.
And then like, but it made me laugh because like in the first verse, like Derek X or Sadat X or whatever, he didn't like the girl because she had like chin hairs and stuff. And I was like, well, that is part of being a natural woman. Hello.
But that's not an attractive natural woman. That's what he's trying to. He's like, you're not.
I know. I got it.
You're not getting the deepness of this.
I got it.
See,
I figured.
She has to be natural and hot.
Okay. Of
So
course.
you were missing that point,
right? So anyways, I just thought that was kind of funny. This one I find like they're just like playing around a little bit on this one and like just like I don't know. I like the camaraderie of this one. That's just kind of like my overall impression of it, and it made me feel so good, and it seems like it makes them feel so good, and it's just like fun music that's gonna make you feel good. So it's fun, it's well made. You know, it's them like kind of being a little bit cocky and like, you know, how they get ladies. So I give it a 4.25 on 5.
Fair enough. I like the like starting part, you know, like yes, it's a test, and they're bouncing off each other, and then it takes a turn. Yeah, you and your girl came to see the 3 Rock. Now she stays. It's like, okay, that's rude. I thought you guys literally in the last track were talking about being good men and honorable people.
Not for long.
Apparently, if the girl's hot enough, that doesn't matter very much. Kick the funky lyrics, throw her down to her PJs. Okay, so now they're rapping at the girl, she's stripping. I respect that. Lay her on the floor, do the work in 3 ways. Like, damn, that's a strong start to this album. Unless I'm mistaken here, they ran a train on the girl. That's basically what they laid her down and did the work in 3 ways. How else is this going down?
I guess.
What else is happening here?
And it felt so good.
After the party, guess what? She's still paying. As in, not only did they triple tag team this lady, she paid for everything. And that's how the song started. And I'm like, wow. I don't I just
wow.
With the rest of this album, it's such an unexpected twist, but so I'm a young man, you know, like so young man shit. It's fantastic, and otherwise they come in and I like how they kind of flow off of each other, and it's not so much like. At least at first, that everyone has like long verses. They kind of, you know, so that X starts it off with a short one. You know, caught this girl, a mink sable. In return, I got a cable. Her name was Fat Mabel. She broke my kitchen table. See, Mabel was a larger lady, and they intercoursed on his kitchen table, and it broke.
Yep.
Ate pasta with this Rasta, went out with his sister, had the hairs on her chin, thought she was a mister.
See.
Went disco dancing, gave my feet a big blister, smacked her in her face, and what? Why did you hit her in the fucking face for stepping on you? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Nope.
That's literally in the first verse until I finally dissed her. Okay. I'm like, I don't know what, like, sometimes you go back to a lot
different
of
era.
The music, right? Like, I watched a video today of like the rock songs of 1990, the hit rock songs. I'm like, there were quite a few of them about fucking girls that are 17. I'm like, I realized how much of the music of the 80s that, you know, our parents idolize as the greatest shit ever is just like, let's fuck this 16-year-old submissive shit backstage while we gangbang a bunch of hoes. Fuck hip-hop. That's the follow-up statement. Anyway, I'm just absolutely, like, dumbfounded by the amount of, like, flagrant, like, did he just literally be like, I'm a fucking smack her in the face? Like, that's a cool thing. Y'all can tell me it's another time and shit. But, like, last track, be a good man. Smack her in the face because she stepped on my feet. Okay. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was with his dick. And then he dished her as jizzing on her face. Either way, I'm not certain. Encounter a stunt, and this is now Grand Pumbaa. In her mouth were 5 fronts. A stunt was on the wiggy. Thought her name was Ziggy, but her name was Lucy. I met her on the doozy. Put me on a hold to go in the store and get Lucy. Nothing happened there. He just rhymed, and it was fine, but nothing really happened there. Lord Jamar comes in, and he knows this new girl named Tina, and her eyes were green, and like I guess he looks at her and sees the cosmetic changes of contacts, and you're not natural. You know what? Synthetic cosmetic. It was pathetic. All I'm saying, man, is
Right. It's just a little weird.
I get like the idea of the whitewashing of an aesthetic, and there's an argument to be made that maybe your preference is black women who don't go out of their way to look white. But I think there's a better way to convey it, maybe. Either way, he doesn't like how she looks, so fuck her, I'm gonna go talk to her cousin. And it's like, oh, so y'all noble till it comes down to women, and then y'all kind of sound like some pieces of shit over here. I'm just throwing it out. Like,
I guess, yeah.
Holy crap. All 3 of them managed to sound like douchebag. Well, sorry, Grand Pumbaa didn't really say anything. So Sadat X and Lord Jamar managed to both sound like assholes by them. Feels so good. Misogyny. Like, that's kind of what it ends up coming off as. Again, 2019, my honky ass over here trying to just, analyze these lyrics. I don't know. Come here, let me put it to you like this, sugar. Don't go changing to try to please me. Jamar, you just basically said if you're going to look away, going to change. Okay, so allow me to rephrase what I was trying to say.
Okay.
If she was changing for herself, and then you make her go back to her natural look, you're making her change to please you. Boom. Jamar's a hypocrite, yo. Mm-hmm. Don't change the color of your hair. What the fuck's wrong with y'all? Colorful hair is lovely, man. I don't give a shit. When a white girl shows up with purple hair, that shit's not natural. It's still lovely. I said, no, I just want someone. I'm like, okay. So basically now, it's you must fit my vision of what a beautiful woman is. And that there was criticism about
Typical.
Like Kendrick Lamar's lines, like I like the ass with the stretch marks and shit, like almost again like, oh, you have to look this way to please me. And the tone of this thing is so prevalent because that's recent. No, it's not different.
I guess.
It's the exact same message. Be natural. Don't be fake. Be, whatever. And it's the same message. But the way these men say it, and I'm including Kendrick in that, is do it for my sexual gratification. It isn't like be a beautiful woman.
No, but I feel like the message comes across a little bit different. Yes.
Does it?
No, I don't know.
I think you just like Kendrick, so you're very having trouble with this because maybe I'm right, and it's
like I get what you're saying is yes, but I think it's also saying is that you don't have to do all these fake things that all these other women are doing. Like you can just be you, and I will find that beautiful. Like. Just you being you. I think that's more the message, and it's less about both of those change for me. Like
all of these guys are saying the same thing in the same awful way. They're all trying to say, "Be your beautiful self," and they're all just kind of making it about themselves and their preferences.
I guess so. Yeah.
And you can argue it, but you're just like, I like Humble so much. It's such a good. That's what I'm hearing you say now.
No.
Anyway, then Grand Pumbaa gets a bigger verse. Too hot to handle when I was young. I used to vandal, giving girls the comfort like a foot and a sandal. What the fuck does that mean? Are you like putting like sandals on their feet, or are you kicking them? Like, I'm confused. Always help to another brother, never running scandals. I respect that, my friend. And if I hit the skids, well, I'll just panhandle. Okay. Now I'm getting papes, but the stunts get the vapes. I see it. They were vaping back then. I see it as a joke. That they
I don't think so.
I know, but it's funny. I see it because I see it as a joke too, because they break when you're broke. I can give a roar like an ancient dinosaur. And I'm like, that's the greatest line. That what the fuck happened in this verse? Again, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I can't figure out Grand Pumbaa on this track. It's like he said a lot and nothing was actually said except it was goofy. And he said he did it. Roar. He actually roars and everything. And then he swings the microphone like the great mighty Thor. That I understood. It was nice. Anyway. I think the Maxwell line is related to Get Smart and the show Maxwell Smart. I might be wrong. It could be. Y'all older cats up in there who remember the culture of the late 80s could correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm 32, so I'm in the middle. I'm a middle child like J. Cole. Anyway, then Sadat X does his next verse, and it's fine. Throw a dip in my hips so they call me extra ill. Making big hits from tidbits, how I make my bread. Do some sit-ups and squat thrusts to keep a level head, because I'm well-bred and mannered. Are you? Anyway, didn't you just tell me you're gonna slap a bitch? Anyway, I created my workshop, stay up late at night until my brain says to stop, then I quit, woke up in the morning and continue it. I like the discipline and the well-bred, mannered version of Sadat X we're getting here. It's just not the same as the same guy and the same. Keep in mind, this is the same song. Wait.
Yep, true.
I don't get it. I like the fact that he's also okay with like pointing out that he does get a little high sometimes, but he's like pretty like calm with it. He's not into other type shit, and so I feel like there's a human side to him that's interesting, and you feel like his dedication to the craft. It's just maybe it's a little excessive on this podcast, but allow me to restate the line, just because I think smacked her in the face until what the fuck, dude? You're not that well mannered. Like I don't know if they're supposed to not make these connections, or like if in 1990 like nobody cared, or like this just wasn't noticed. But it's so baffling to me that was just cool. Like that just sounds like domestic abuse is being made cool. Anyway. Then Lord Jamar comes in and he just sounds smart. Like, girls scope this. Like, in astrology, they acknowledge me. And I'm like, that's pretty good. That's because I'm God. And I'm assuming this is more of, like, the 5%er Nation of Islam sense of God being black man. And don't look too hard in the sun because you might get done. My number's 7, and I believe 7 is God. And then 6 plus 1 also has specific numerology meanings, and I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but they exist. Now, anyway, you count Lord Jamar will amount to be a tower. So, yo, acknowledge my powers. I conclude to girls, I won't be rude, just verbally feeding my mental food, unless you're a natural, and then girl, I'm gonna be rude and fuck your cousin instead. Again, like, there's some inconsistencies, but I can get past it. I'm embellished with lyrics. That might be the most honest thing this dude said in the whole track. That can't be contested, because embellish means you exaggerate. It doesn't mean honesty. It means exaggerations and shit. MC rhymes are ancient, like a dinosaur fossil. I'm like, that's the second dinosaur bar on this song. It's awesome. Like, I don't know if I like this, if I think it's corny. I like it, though, because it's corny. We used to be some soloists.
You have to also remember, like, there are several types that, like, I have to remember, too, that they are, like, young guys in this one.
Know.
Like, I can't remember, like, what age they're at, but this is, like, their first album.
I know, but yo, Bonnie, discombobulated MCs with my vicinity. Guys like my rhymes, girls like my masculinity. Honestly, Lord Jamar stole it for this one for me. He's my favorite. I have a lot more respect for him as a rapper, having heard this project, actually. And look, I know I'm being goofy because this fucking song's goofy. It's a weird track. I don't know how to feel about it. I forgot all about the music video, which I watched, and I feel like dumb because like I watched it and I forgot everything, but it wasn't that substantial then. 4.25.
All right, so let's move on to
Concerto in X minor. Oh, fucking guy. This is where the album just gets flipped, turned upside down for me, because we were in, let's say, a goofy phase the last 2 tracks. It wasn't really serious. Let's be real. This shit is pretty serious. It flips right away. It's got this little intro where he's doing, and this is a Sadat X solo track. I think that's cool. I want to just touch on that for a second. You'll notice sometimes with the group albums that there's like template groups where everybody has to have a verse or this, that, the next thing. And then there's just groups where the best songs made the album, and that's kind of what it is. And that's kind of what I think happens here, because you go from some ones will have Grand Puma the whole time, some will have all 3. I think a couple of Sadat X. I'm not sure if any have just Lord Jamar. But I thought that was just interesting how it almost gives you this feeling of, I never know what I'm going to get next on this project from like a lyrical perspective, because after getting all the goofy shit, we get this this introduction, like "Good evening, my Nubian brothers and sisters."
And it's funny, and he's trying to do like the Ed Sullivan, the
Yeah.
Ed Sullivan show.
So we got a really big show. Conducting his concerto in X minor. We have the brother Derek X, and his theme tonight will be on racism in New York. Backdrop. I'm like, what? Big pivot from the last couple of tracks, and now I suppose this is what I was expecting it to be, and so I was expecting it to be more like an entire album of songs like this, and I was actually really surprised by the goofy shit. But then it's like they suck you in with the "we're regular ass dudes," and then once you're kind of vibing and dancing, they smack you with the fucking knowledge.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this track, though?
I like this one, and I felt like the beat sounded familiar, like it was something that I've heard before, or it was maybe like sampled in something that I've listened to. So I thought that was kind of like interesting, and I think that's also something a lot of people do, is they kind of go to the older albums to sample
It
them.
sampled
So-
a bunch of Last Poet stuff, and we have heard a bunch of Last Poet stuff before,
Maybe.
but that might be the vocal samples.
Okay. So, we have like the funny, like, impersonation at the start, and, it's nice when you, I don't know, when you hear like quirky things like that, it makes it more personable to like the listener. So exactly like what you said, he's talking about racism, especially like in New York, against black people, because it's what he and they have all dealt with, having been black people in New York themselves. So it's fun, and it's like goofy sounding, and it's like has such a great beat, yet it still has like this like serious issue in like kind of intertwine in it, but they're still positive, even though they're upset by all of this that's happening. They're still seeing the good things about it, and like what they can do to kind of stop it, I guess, or not, I don't know, or just kind of like shouting out like the people who have dealt with it, but just kind of like being like uplifting about it. Like it's kind of nice. And at the end, they like shout out a bunch of other like New York artists of this era. So, which is nice because they're all kind of like brothers, and especially if they're all sort of in that like 5% belief system, that so it makes sense that they're all kind of like brothers, and they're all supporting each other on each other's music. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool, and like they're very much like they're having fun and calling life as they see it, with the situations that are happening, and and it's early 1990s, so in New York, so there was a lot of we all know, I feel like police brutality, and like the same thing as now, and like things were much worse in terms of like the hood, and like the violence and the crime, and the crack epidemic was like happening as well. So it was which we will talk about kind of a little bit throughout the album. So I mean, there was a lot going on, and they definitely see like the brighter side of life a little bit. So I like this one. I give it a 4.5 on 5.
I mean, I think it's just such an interesting idea to make something that has effectively got this dancey, groovy rhythm, right? Mm-hmm. So essentially, I could just picture a world where you throw this on at a party and everyone's grooving, and the next thing you know, this comes on, and like you don't have to stop dancing, but at the same time, the actual content that's being delivered to you is more intelligent, is more interesting, and yeah. I kind of appreciate that. So like, I like the way he starts the first verse, like, I'm kind of blessed, so I wrote this manifesto for life, co-signed by the others with a knife, and scratches in Brand Nubian. On the real tip, let's take a field trip from the ghetto. You pick the time and we'll meet in the meadow to discuss racial issues and tension. New York's a powder keg, did I forget to mention? And it's like, it's pretty top level, but it's pointing out there's tension, like shit's about to go down, like we can talk about it in maybe a more peaceful place if that makes you feel more comfortable. When things got wild and woolly, yeah, that day the feds played the role of the bully. And again, it's still kind of top level, and it's still kind of nice sounding, but he's pointing out, like, the cops is kind of assholes. And then Huey Newton was slain, and we all felt the pain of Yusuf Hawkins. And when you really look into all the bullshit that went into the assassinations and crap related to the different black civil leaders and people who really just were trying to build communities, trying to build like proper resources, but no, you're going to teach the black people how to unite, we're going to fucking assassinate you type shit. And it's really fucked up, man. And I suppose it's not something I can fully appreciate being a white dude in Montreal, but like I definitely can say that the more I learn about the history behind a lot of these complaints, the more I can empathize with how awesome it is that they took the time to almost put that history into it. And it was mad, but we was squawking. They tried to show false compassion, yet at the rally they tried to bash in our brains. Oh, yeah, right, because the riot police is going to show up and fuck you up. Yep. That shit's still real. Further adding to the bloodstains, I was mad at this news, and so was my brothers, and I wanted to get violent, but I'm a lover of black mothers, and black mothers need sons, not children that's been killed by guns. So it's like, in light of the rage, in light of everything that's happening, you got to behave a certain way, because if you die, you know, you're robbing your mother of her son, and it's a bad news bearer situation. And I just kind of like how he ends it with this call of, I will stop the racial injustice if I get the chance to. And it's just really powerful.
Yep.
Now, the civilized man's main goal is to teach. I'm going to try to achieve this with verbal outreach in my community and all outlying counties. Spread the message of good where my now rule mighty. Step up the right. Anyway, and he kind of just points out, so it's not just so much that everything's fucking bad, but he has this platform and this ability to spread a message for good, and he'll be that advocate to reach out. He'll be almost that apostle of truth in the midst of all this darkness. And you get that, y'all don't stop, y'all don't quit, Derek Hicks, I'm guaranteed to be the ultimate, I kicks for the flavor. So bust that, I dropped a stack from my almanac, it's all true, so it's got to be showing fact. It's just nice, like honestly, like I much prefer this over the last track. The record's in the record store. Categories Black War, best you ever saw, and it comes in a 3 or a 4 pack. In a month or two, I'll be back to, you know, it's like, I kind of like it. It's like my album's out, we got the message out there, and we'll keep coming back, and we'll keep doing our thing, and we'll keep it strong. And then it just kind of message substance at the X cannot be thrown out the window. Unseen lean 2 years past the teen. Never use makeup, got a natural sheen. It's like that, let's have a ball. I'm Derek X, about 6 feet tall. I'm only 5'7" myself, just saying. But I thought it was really nice. And then this little outro where he shouts out everyone, and it just felt like a good way to share your message and your mission statement and whatnot. And I thought it was nice. The beat's a little erratic, not my favorite, but still enjoyable, and I give it a 4.25 on 5.
All right.
Well, next time is Ragtime.
Well, I like it. I like the title even. It's just because it's kind of like a throwback, you know, to like ragtime music and I think dance as well. So there's like a nice flow on this one. I think it was really cool. I really like the mixing. They mention that he doesn't eat meat. Kind of passing on the message of the Nation of Islam. Again, this is like really popular at this time. They're mentioning the crackheads that are around, and again, so like that's sort of what's going on, in terms of like what they're seeing, and like the situation is real, and like the crack epidemic was real, and yet like just like still trying to stay positive, and kind of still being like, yeah, we're still the best, we still got it, even though all this is going on, we're just gonna like keep making our music and keep doing what we do. So I kind of like this one. It was fun. I like the way that they rap on this one. Like it's fun to like spit to, but like I can see how this one can be used for like breakdancing, and I think a lot of like the songs on this album can be used for like breakdancing as well. So I like that there's kind of like that, which feels like it flows in there for me as well. So I give this a 4.5 on 5.
I definitely think this has that more upbeat, quicker pace, kind of bounciness to it in terms of the music. And everyone's rapping kind of gets a little more spastic. Like, well, New York roars, my voice box soars. I'll open your pores because it's one of my chores. Like, it has that, like, old-timey fast flow to it.
Yeah.
Like, not like Like they're not chopping yet, but they're pushing the boundaries, the speed a little bit. And I just like the way they come through, like kicking beats to bongos, rhythms, cutting rhymes to a schism. People often wonder when asked, is I'm the best? Surely you jest. I'm not down with the rest. In fact, they failed the test. It's my vernacular that's simply spectacular. My bite is in your neck. It's the effect of Dracula. And I'm like, you're fucking funny, Sedadex. And it's all right. Like, it totally has that grandiose, bouncing wordplay, goofy references, consistent rhyming, and there is an abundant lack of swearing on this album. And I think that is something that I think is pretty noticeable and good. Like, and I don't know. I don't know that on these more goofier, flossier songs, it's entirely a whole lot that I find, like, next level interesting in general of this era. It's just kind of fun to listen to. It just kind of rolls and it's smooth, and if it's not really, I feel like you're not necessarily supposed to be thinking that deeply on this track,
Right.
But in light of that, you float towards the end where it's like, now I'm out for mines and I'm going to clock what's mine on the line. On a rhyme I will die, never ate a pig, can't deal with the swine. And that's a cool line because it's the double entendre about the pork and being part of the Nation of Islam, and the pigs is in the cops and shit. Keep on, yes, my word is bond, speaking that knowledge like Farrakhan. And I'm like, man, he's using Mr. Farrakhan as like a central point, like really letting you know who you can get the knowledge from. What do y'all think of of Louis Farrakhan in this day and age? I know that it's a very split reaction. I'm just curious to know your reaction. Then the little chorus comes in and Grand Pumbaa kind of like hypes everything up. Lord Jamar drop it. He comes in, he drops the bass because when it hits, I bounce him. I do this on my 1.5 ounces of brain. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're smarter than everyone. Okay, whatever. Which I contained a manifesto. The record is bought, so I figure out how to elaborate. So it's like you could be concise, but since you have to rap, you may as well. I speak the facts, black. I don't exaggerate. I just get to the bare essentials. Demand them and I talk on my credentials. Cause I never slept. My mom was in the right place. Now must take her steps and retrace back to a time when black was defined as original, godlike, supreme, divine. And I have to give Lord Jamar credit. On almost every verse we've heard from him in particular, it's like he can't leave the topic. And I like that because it's so important for him to like bring up the history. And so this would be like, I guess, at a point where black history is not prevalent knowledge. It isn't something you can just Google and shit. So actually spreading this message has such a heavy power to it, especially because, I mean, for us, it's easy to now go learn whatever the fuck we want to learn.
You know, I never thought about that.
So seeing him do this and to make sure that even if others on the track are going to be whatever, just flossing, Jamar's flossing his knowledge of why, of self, You got to know knowledge of self, the foundation. Know wisdom's the way to let it out. Understanding is the manifestation, and culture freedom the final turnout because it's ragtime. So yeah, he's all fun and whatever, but the fact that he keeps it focused like that, I find it almost really respectable. And then Grand Pumbaa comes in on the third verse. He stands as a pharaoh and read up on Elijah. And again, it's still that knowledge shit,
Mm-hmm.
Trick ends on my friends because Pumbaa's not a miser. It lasts longer than Duracell or an Energizer. Do kids know what those things are anymore?
Yes.
I question that because I think they might know what Amazon Basics batteries are or whatever Walmart's brand of batteries are. But everybody's batteries are fucking good now because what the hell uses batteries? You need batteries only for devices that need shit batteries. Like, when you get something and it's like, make sure to buy Dollarama batteries for this, like, or you'll fuck it up because it can't handle real batteries.
Guess.
I'm honestly thinking of sex toys because you actually.
Oh, I don't.
I know I have purchased sex toys, without any names involved, and there were battery requirements of shittier batteries for this particular.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't a great toy. I'm just saying that was. But anyway, batteries got real good. So I just find it funny because it's kind of like, wow, the idea that the Energizer Bunny is going to become a thing nobody knows about soon. It could be something that Jimmy Kimmel
I mean, it's still on
uses
commercials at the very least. I mean, for anybody who still has TV.
See, so Jimmy Kimmel can bully kids on the internet with it. Or is it Fallon? I don't know which Jimmy it was that bullied Billie Eilish. It was Kimmel. That guy's a fucking asshole. Anyway. I rock a rhyme at a wedding. Next tour I'm probably heading. You want a beat like this? Check the stack of Otis Redding. I'm hurting like a blister, confusing like
I like
Twister.
that line. I like Otis Redding.
Not only a child, 4 brothers and 1 sister. And I guess it's kind of regular. I feel like it's good stuff. It's good wholesome-y type shit. Like, again, this... So I feel like for the most part on this project, it's been really integritous, decent guys that we're getting, except for when women are involved on that one song.
I guess.
I like this one more. I thought it bounced really well. It had a great flow to it, and I gave it a 4.35 on 5 instead. Anyway,
Okay.
shall we keep the funkiness going?
To the right.
To the right.
Not like Beyonce.
All right, Bonnie, how do you feel about this one?
Well, we all know that I like the James Brown sample. Let's just get that out of the way. So I think it was fun. This one is, they're mentioning clap your hands for the Zulu Nation. I like that because where I grew up, Zulus were not, I don't know, they were different types of people. There were people who had no fingernails and have no hair. So that's where, those are the types of people.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there were
Where?
Zulus in Huntington.
We're talking about like middle of nowhere Quebec. It's like, I don't know.
Huntington, just give me 1 second. I'm literally just going to look up. Okay, well, I can only find a French news article about the myth of the Zulus of Huntington. And yeah, so I think it's just like too much interbreeding.
I have literally never heard of this. That's what I was trying to say.
But there's a whole bunch of them that are there, and it's just like this random community of Zulus, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know if that's appropriate to even call them that. I don't know if that's what they are. But anyways, that's what happened when I grew up. So anyways, I like this one. So there was a very popular book around this time that my sister is constantly recommending to me. I still need to read it. I have not yet. And it has to do with one of these lines, and it's Appear from the Rear with my clan, and I'm the Cave Bear. So Clan of the Cave Bear is the book that she is insisting that I still read. If any of you guys have read it, let me know. Let me know if you think it's a great book or not. So anyways, I like this one. It's fun. It's nice. It's a little bit slower than the last ones, but I still enjoyed it. I give this a 4.35 on 5.
So I would like to say that I'm pretty sure any like Zulu talk is going to be related to the Zulu Nation or Africa.
Obviously,
or
yes. I get that.
Nothing to do with Huntington, Quebec.
No.
Which is... Quebec is pretty fucking racist, though. Like, I'm not gonna lie. If you Google Quebec racism, you'll find that it's vibrant and alive up in our modern world.
Yes.
There are quite a few rivers that are basically the N-word in French river in Quebec, to this day. Anyway, I thought what was really interesting about this track is that we have reviewed 2 separate songs already that have sampled this particular song in their work. Because at one point you had made some comment about how it's almost like people were creating shit to be sampled. Mm-hmm. And so one could argue that this was done here because it ends up being sampled by Skins in the Pete Rock and CL Smooth album that we reviewed so very recently, Mecca and the Soul Child.
Yep.
It is also sampled in Kiss, Keep It Simple Stupid by Diamond D and the Psychotic Neurotics, both New York dudes around that time, popping off around that era. These albums are very close to each other.
Maybe they were all like using like the same producer or something.
Well, I don't know, but I feel like back then people were a lot more liberal with their sampling before people started really getting lawsuits for it. I feel like I'm not really sure what the hell this song if there's any like real thing deeper to it. I feel like it's again a little more of that fun, goofier side to them. Like Grand Pumbaa starts us off, well honey, here's a hickey, Pumbaa's not a quickie. That's good to know, man. It's good to know that you mark up the ladies and your dick can last. When it comes to Skins, god damn, I'm picky. He's also shallow, ladies. He's also shallow. I'm just saying, I'm just interpreting his lyrics here. Like, I just, you look at the way masculinity gets presented in 1990 by, like, these guys who probably smashed tons of girls. And if you probably tried to pull that today at 20 years old in 2019 in most places, you just get shot down for the exact same thing. That was considered sexy, 30 years ago? Fascinating shit, man. Because it just comes off so lame. I bet it worked, but it comes off lame to me today. And if she's less than dope, I hope this limo's got taints. I guess that means you're getting sex. I don't know. Sex in the limo still sounds good today, by the way. Now, honey, you see, this may sound profound, but let me love you down. And if I'm uptown, I'm back downtown. All skins I've been in, I get no frowns. You see, doo-doo MCs really think they can outlast. I smell gas. I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit bored with this verse, but it's another one of those verses where what he's saying is far less interesting than how he's saying it, because he's rapping it really well and it's quite enjoyable to listen to. Like the I dip, dive, and a bends, like it's that kind of goofy fun. Like, yeah, it really just feels old school and nice. But again, really good. Then the chorus is fine. It just feels like a good live video type thing. Sadat X does the second verse, and he kind of flows through, and he's like, this girl done tried to cram because she was down with the old school. She smacked me, attacked me, harassed me till I swung, but I made her see stars because her bell rung. Like, did you just what? Okay. No, I'm not a wife beater. No, I'm not a girl cheater. But on 2 songs, you've now implied you smashed a chick. Okay, anyway, I nipped this problem in the bud. I think he says bud, but somebody wrote butt on Genius. With my force, the rule... Hold on. She smacked me, attacked me, harassed me till I swung, but I made her see stars because her bell rung. How is that not like she hit him a bunch and he punched her in the fucking head?
Yeah, I guess, eh?
And then he's like, no, I'm not a wife beater. Man, you're giving me some mixed messages,
Yep.
Sadat X. I'm trying, homeboy, but like, listen, y'all watching it, am I crazy here? Am I misreading? Like, I'm just trying to understand the words, but like, you hear him say it and you're like, what the fuck did you just say, dog? And is that hot? That's my question for the 1.8% of women who watch this channel from our audience view. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. He flows through. So give a shout if you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, then brother, you're lost. Nah, dog. I don't know that I'm lost. I'm trying to understand you, but you're not being super clear. You're being clear when you're being social political. You're not clear when it comes to women. I don't know if you want to beat them. I don't know if you want to love them. Or if it's both. But you're not convincing me you're not a wife beater, Sadat X, with your words. Anyway, I pound a bunch of you after lunch because they do right. Appear from the near lyric. Appear from the rear with my clan. I'm the cave bear. Rip up the street in my worldwide terror so loudly. My troops. So let's form 3 groups. I'm like, what's going on? It just sounds like he's getting ready for war. Fair enough. Then Lord Jamar comes in. And you're captivated by the science because the lesson's mathematical. And I'm like, I bet, and I can relate to this, people don't like Lord Jamar much. They respect Lord Jamar. They think he's really knowledgeable and talented.
Okay.
But I get the feeling that Lord Jamar has fans over friends. Because everything the guy says starts off with some shit like, you're captivated by the science because the lesson's mathematical. Jamar rocking the jam and an emphatical. And Y equal knowledge born. I go on, although clothes get torn. And I'm like, I do that at work and people don't like me for it. So I imagine Lord Jamar wasn't popular flossing how smart he is every opportunity he can. He has zero chill. I respect him more for it, which means other people must not like him on a personal level as much for it.
Yeah.
I thought he was funny. He's rushing out. Girls love him because he's really smart, right? And his intellectualism makes the girls get sexual with him. See, I made my own rhyme like Jamar. Anyway, it's totally fine. But you know what? He's polite to all the women as long as they're natural looking. And yeah, sniffing a gram ain't flam. It's kind of weak. I like his anti-cocaine bars because fuck cocaine. Jamar, keep you open through the rhymes I speak. Not down with a frat. No, I ain't no Greek. Fair enough. I'd go to a frat. It looks kind of fun to find like a non-douchey frat. It looks like a good time. It's like summer camp for college.
Yeah.
A message from a black man is what you seek. And I respect the position Lord Jamar's put him in. All things considered, I can deal with his messaging. I think he's pretty respectable. I think Grand Pumbaa is pretty cool, and Sadat X is questionably misguided. But I feel like his other... You got what I had to say about him. All things considered, this one's cool. It's another 4.25. I feel like I enjoy the vibe of it, but there's some weirdness to it. And the next one, I think, also has a funky beat, but I think it also might be a Jamar Singles solo song, and I was wrong earlier.
True.
So why don't y'all dance to my ministry? Yeah, this is dope. I really like this one.
Yeah.
The beat feels like live almost, and I know it's probably samples, and apparently it samples Earth, Wind and Fire song Bad Tune, and it's got this crazy frantic upbeat, like you just people. It almost reminds me of like Reefer Madness when they get really high and start jazz dancing, and like when you see, or I'm watching Peaky Blinders now, and it's kind of in that same era, and like they go into the jazz clubs and everybody. A big thing is, I guess, music got faster with swing, right? Like a lot faster and upbeat, and people were doing some cocaine, and I'm not kidding. They were just doing that kind of shit, uppers and whatnot. Drugs were cool back then, right?
Good old opium dens.
You know what's crazy? Our grandparents did a lot of drugs. Our parents did a lot of drugs. Everybody said drugs is bad, and now they condemn kids for doing drugs. Fuck out of here. Anyway. So basically all those drug-using people of the past were dancing it up in a fun way. Man, no, for real, look at what was in cough syrup back in the day. Man, codeine and fucking like marijuana and fucking opium and a bunch of shit. And that's cough syrup for kids. Not even playing. That's real shit. Either way. So you get this kind of like, it feels like a throwback to almost like the 30s, 40s, upbeat, kind of jazzy, really, you know what I mean? That like super upbeat fucking swinginess to it. And then Lord Jamar just fucking goes. He just goes off and just does it proper. What I mean by proper, I mean he's like, I got the 4 minutes to just rap about like my history and shit. Game on. I'm gonna educate some motherfuckers. And he rolls with it. See, it's a positive force which guides my course. It ain't little Bo Peep, whose sheep been lost is the tribe of Shabazz, first on the planet Earth, but definite to be the last.
And that's like a biblical thing.
So here's what's up. We got this dude, this local dude that we've been, chilling with here and there, and when he starts talking about this stuff, he can go on for like an hour giving us like Earth history, how people originate from Africa and the tribe of this one, and I'm pretty sure we've been learning about this, and first on the planet Earth, but definite to be the last. So if we all understand, people stem from Africa in the first place before everyone expands out elsewhere, and so that's just the crazy shit. And so understanding what I've learned about this level of history, and then seeing Jamar just laying it down like this, it's pretty cool, If a last stand shall pass, students enroll while Jamar teach class. Seminar I give is for you to live, but not try to keep your mind captive. I break shackles, tear down tabernacles. Any problem in sight, Jamar tackles. And I'm like, damn, he's like really just like, I'm going to be a go-getter. I'm going to solve problems. I'm going to educate the youth. I'm going to do it all. And through trickery, but hickory dickory dock, times run out on the clock. I'm going to use nursery rhymes. That's fucking dope. The shepherd's here to protect the flock. And something I've said for a long time is like, where the fuck the shepherds at in life? There's sheep and there's wolves, but nobody ever talks about the shepherds. That's something I felt for a long time. And then I realized a lot of what 5%er mentality is like the active to be the shepherds of the world. Right. Because it's like, 85% of people are ignorant and stupid. It's not stupid, but ignorant to the truth. Of the rest of the world, of the 15% who know the truth, 10% are evil and manipulative with it and use that knowledge to be, I guess, bad. I think the numbers have swayed and there's more of those people these days. But those would be like your 1%, your wealthy elites, the assholes who understand it. And then you often have these, and it's often poorer people who have the knowledge and altruistically sack it all for the greater good to help people. And so you have the shepherds of life, that last 5% who are willing to share the knowledge and give up everything for the sake of the greater good because they have that knowledge. And so I believe that's my rudimentary breakdown of that shit. So to see him kind of use his folk as a shepherd, I find it really cool because on my own I came to these kinds of ideas, and I really do believe that shit. So I kind of love the idea of with my staff I walk through the wilderness, build on math and destroy all the villainous criminals perpetrating this constant subliminal science to brainwash their minds of an unknown and kept church going. It's time to shine light. That's why I'm proving and showing. And it's amazing because something I would like to do in my life, I even try to do it on this very show, this very channel, is to educate, is to show it. Like I read a bunch of shit, I try to learn, I try to constantly keep my brain improving, and then take that knowledge and share it with people to the best of my human ability, you know? And I find it really cool that there's so much inspiration being found in this little Lord Jamar song here. Like this song stands the fuck out to me as something super interesting. You know, anyway, so his basic goal is to use his music to preach to people, especially to the youth of the inner city and the outskirts. People may disagree, but yo, hey, the truth hurts. Lord Jamar, I'll advance in the industry. That didn't happen. I'm making sure you can dance to my ministry. And I really like that, though. So now dance. And the fact is, it's like, it kind of has the sense of him shooting guns at you with ethics and shit. So dance, motherfucker.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you really feel like he's giving you his music to dance to that's actually really interesting. You know, like, come into my laboratory. I'm going to take you on a tour. And Ankh is the key, and the key is knowledge, which unlocks my lab's door. Kemet, which is another term I should know, but I can't remember because off the top, but it's another, like, of that Black history type knowledge term. Lets you enter. Heat generates from the center. Lord Jamar is an inventor. Production of the black facts. Put on black wax. I got a lot to say, set in stacks. And what's really cool is just that listening to this sounds really in line with what I understand, but gives me also like things to Google and things to learn from. So because he's tapping into like real knowledge, this shit doesn't actually sound dated. I mean, yes, the sound of the music or whatever, but not really compared to the rest of it. Like this particular piece honestly feels like it could have come out any time because the core music to me sounds so old already. But the message, what has he said that puts a time frame on it? Nothing. It's just pure universality to perception that like you could take this whole song and apply all the lyrics to 2019, except for maybe the part where he shouts out, you know, some of the more people at the end, like Q-Tip and whatnot. But as far as the two verses go, like it really just feels like this universal knowledge, like this focus on real power. And I think that's amazing that this song in 1990 may as well could have come out today. It said the same thing, had the same relevance, speak to the same people, and had the same purpose. That's actually really fucking dope. 4.5 on 5, because
Wow.
end of the day, jazz is not my favorite shit in the world, and the beat's fucking whatever. 4.5 on 5. It's so well made. I really respect it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that was well done. This definitely has like a very energetic beat. For me, it was the beat that stood out more than anything else. And like this one was just sort of like to, like I thought like to like motivate like black men and women to like kind of like inspire them. And it was just sort of like a hype song. Like I don't really have anything else to say that you haven't touched on. I mean, I really like this. I thought it was a lot of fun. I also gave it a 4.5 on 5.
All right, so the next track on the album is called Drop the Bomb. All right, Bonnie, how do you feel about Drop the Bomb?
We are gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. So they are dropping some intellect bombs on us. So that's kind of what it is. They're just trying to like educate everybody by like, you know, making their music. And I think that that's a kind of a cool way to get like positive messages or messages that you think are important out there into the world. And, you know, those who need it will grasp onto it. And I think that that's pretty cool. So this one has another nice beat. I like it. It's very 90s, but it's also like just like a lot of fun, and I enjoy it, and it's just like easy to listen to. Telling us that that black man was the first people, and he refers back to like Adam and Eve, like they were black, and so I think that that's kind of like an interesting like idea, or you know, it could very well be the truth. But like in like at least in terms of like in my mind, when I think of Adam and Eve, I think of these like pale, you know, people with like their hair flowing down and you know like leaves over their like privates and whatever, and like it could be completely different, but then that's sort of just been brainwashed generation after generation into I guess like the western world, or all of the world, I guess. So that's kind of an interesting thing to think about, because like I mean I think about like Black Jesus, but I don't think of like everybody else as being like of color in like the Bible, I guess.
I mean, but like it's crazy because like Ethiopia is in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Like the same Ethiopia, it's in Israel, which isn't really white.
Yeah,
I've
it
been there.
wasn't really white back then, I don't think.
It's not even that white now. I mean, yes, there's a lot of Ashkenazi Jews who went there, but everybody's still tanned.
Yeah.
Like, I stand out like a sore fucking thumb in Israel for how white I am by comparison, and there's pictures to prove it. Because everyone gets kind of dark. Olive is a more common color, like more of that Greek kind of white.
Yeah.
So is it white? Maybe, but nobody...
Sun-kissed white.
Nobody looks like the way that religion whitewashed history.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. So this one is kind of like touching on like some of the issues in Black communities. Most notably, I think it was the welfare, and like kind of how it kind of keeps people trapped in that cycle, and that the next generation will will use welfare, and it just makes for like a lazy community and people who are just dependent on the government, and everybody should be independent and take that right back, kind of. So I mean that's kind of how I interpreted it, and how that's how the devil, aka the white man / power, can take advantage of people. And I really like this one because it's it has like a really sick beat, and yet like the message is all mixed in. It's like really, really cool. I like that. I like the ending. I like it. It's all good. It's basically just about like waking yourself up, not being ignorant, not relying on the man, and like just making like being a better person, and like making a better community by like changing the systematic powers that be. So I give this a 4.6 on 5. I really like this one.
I feel like it's very charged in a good way. Lord Jamar starts it off like, will I build like a mason facing the east? Because they're like, build shit. Built and brought west to the belly of the beast, protest. And I like that because it's like protest as opposed to just protest. Because this land ain't just. I seek equality and freedom as a must. Now, if understand is understood, well, that's good. On equal planes, we can bring forth change, rise dead from the graves of slaves, fly the head of the men in caves, to instead to unify with our plan. Why do we fear the devil now that he's a grown man? So, like, right away, you can tell, yeah, we are here to change up the status quo and kind of bring some equality to our people and whatnot. And I thought that devil line is fascinating because it plays on the biblical concept of the devil, but it's just like, the devil, as in the white guy, all he really is a grown man. We can deal with that situation. Because he bought you, taught you how to eat the wrong food. Now it's time for fasting, life everlasting. And that's fascinating, right? Because it's very powerful. The truth is, white people showed up and there was a slave trade going on, and they brought people over to North America and turned them into fucking slaves. And yes, this happened all over, but the slaves in New York, that ended up in New York, there's a good chance was part of this particular version of it. And yeah, they fucked up the culture and they changed shit up, and I really appreciate the bluntness of it, because it is what happened when you look at the history. And certainly a lot of people, especially white people, especially ignorant white people, get offended by some of the triggering language. But I mean, I don't know, you can't really change history because it's uncomfortable, in my opinion, and history is extremely uncomfortable. It used to be allowed to happen, and I'm reading like Icelandic poems from the Middle Ages. Oh, I want to fuck your wife. I'll show up with a bunch of guys and kill everybody and take your wife, and then I'll rape her until she's mine. And it sounds kind of blunt, But life's like that up until the modern era where people got sensibilities and shit, I guess. So life used to be really fucked up, and lots of fucked up shit happened. Anyway, he has no tolerance for black ignorance, and I thought that was a powerful statement because he's so driven to grow and learn that he can't understand why people choose to stay in the path of ignorance, you know? He's driven by the course of Allah, true and living, cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe, the first soul, black like coal. Ask how Walters said birth record. The devil couldn't check it, even if he wants to check it. The Nubian's record, all will respect it. That's an interesting point too. Like you have these people where you don't even know how old they are. You don't know. They're like, it's like when you adopt a cat and you give it an arbitrary birth date and you hope you're right. That's how people are fucking treated. You know?
I guess.
Anyway, so I really, really enjoyed his verse, and I thought it was really strong. Sadat X is coming in political, which I think is very good. We've come to see he is also like powerful on that front. What I provide will collide with devilish ways of thinking. Again, I like how they're playing the devilish as the double entendre, so you have the typical devil idea, but you know, there's a literal whitewashing that goes on with a lot of shit, and you see it everywhere. I've come to realize it's what I call middle-class normative behavior. So the white middle class is like this conformity club where everybody tries to fucking stamp out personality, individuality, so we all suck the same dick and deep throat at the same amount. It's fucking awful, and I hate every second of it. I put it like that because that's what these fucking people do from my perception. They bend over backwards and they take corporate cock so that they can all have their nice fancy little distractions. And they're poorer than ever, and they hand it up, and it's just the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Anyway, so whitewashing is this thing that really does happen everywhere. Erasing false facts that started with Abe Lincoln being great, used his weight and freed the slaves, but did he free us? Take a look around at the black man, see us? And I was like, damn, that's a powerful point. Are you really free? Is freedom really a thing? And when illiteracy rules and they're showing cartoons in school instead of teaching you because they're too understaffed and people don't understand math, and that's the way the system works. The black man can get the purchase, drop the family, it neutralizes many. And it's really interesting how they point out how in the hood, like the education system's fucked up, so people aren't being given the knowledge and the basic skills required to compete in a way to have an existence that's anything other than glorify. Like it basically turns into this cycle of slavery or bad situations like that. And then you got the welfare components where this isn't necessarily just black people that go through that welfare cycle. I watch my family members go through things like this because anyone that comes from welfare can kind of see the cycle and the trap of what it really is. I mean, yes, there's the privilege part where it's probably hella easy for me to get the fuck out a lot quicker if I want to, and that has been part of my life, and I recognize how much privilege exists, but I also know what that welfare shit really is, and I see the point of it. Now the way the devil got us is the way the devil wanted. He tried to hold us back, and he overly floss it. Yeah, I get his point. It's true. White people are pretty shitty like that. This ain't even his land. The Indians was here first. The savagery displayed made the red man disperse. That's crazy. Like Bonnie read a book where like they were saying how 200 dudes on horses basically capped down with guns. 80,000 fucking native people? 80,000. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like white people are fucking awful sometimes, historically speaking. I'm about to squash the whitewash, brainwash line of thought. I got a million books in the school in the fort in the rule with 3 great teachers, and I'm like, damn, this is really fire. Anyway, this is really fire. Then Grand Pumbaa comes in here. Well, here I go from the tippy. And those who want to flow, let's go. Step in stride as and move with pride. Blind, deaf, and dumb. God Haji's here to guide. Follow me now, children, for wisdom. I always seem to give conniption. I'm like a pimp. I'm more like Egyptian. I'm like...
It's good rhyming.
I'm like, you're not saying as much, but you're all right. Like, the other two seem like they got really deep levels of understanding of this shit.
He's just like, I'm going to use words.
Not so dismissive, but...
No, but it's good.
It feels like he's a little newer to it in the way he's delivering it. Straight to, like, I'm more like an Egyptian. Straight to the kingdom is where I bring him and school him. Now rule is where I rule him. He, Allah, God, Islam, now act. Then let me slow down because 85s can't get with that. And I'm not saying he doesn't know whatever. I'm saying that by comparison, it feels a little less deep. Anyway, I find his verses is also good, and as we go through it, when I drop my bomb, it's heading straight for the colored man, known as Asiatic. Confrontation causes static, might it add sincerely, allies mathematics, so let's move on the mental of the black man has been torn. So I love the way he raps and whatnot. He raps well, and it's all pretty good, and they clearly are not that interested in the Uncle Toms of the world, and they're coming for some people.
Yeah.
So I like the charged up nature of this track in general. I definitely think Grand Pumbaa shines more on the goofy songs, and the other two shine a lot more on the serious songs. So that's an interesting mix that we have going on. And it's fascinating because Grand Pumbaa ends up leaving the group not long after this and then coming back like way later on. So maybe there was some level of creative difference going on behind the scenes between the focus of things. I don't really know too deeply of it. This is what Wikipedia told me. Still, this track kind of blew me away a bit. It was really interesting to listen to, and I find that when they are on this like social political tip, going on about a bunch of interesting things, calling out real harsh truths in a world where, especially at a time when it probably wasn't that cool to do so, I really respect it. 4.5 on 5.
Yep.
All right, so if that's that, we're going to call this the end of the first part because, yes, we know that there are 16 songs, so you could be like, but there's 8 is the halfway point, but we all know that there's a certain song that appears twice on this album. So, with that in mind, and the intro bit, seems like a great place to cut it in half because this, as it gets too long, and then nobody wants to click on a 3-hour video of stuff we've learned. So we appreciate y'all being here with us, and looking forward to seeing your comments, seeing what you think to some of maybe the more goofier things that were said in this review. And I like to learn. So if you can educate me, I'm going to take that, and I'm going to really care because it matters a lot what you say. You can subscribe to the channel for part 2 of this and other reviews. You can like this video if you did like it. On that note, special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, and Coney Sparks. They're dope. They support what we do. They have the power to request reviews from us, such as Jonathan Barnes, such as this very review, in which he did so. But they helped us get a better camera. They helped us get on Spotify, and they make our lives more meaningful and stuff. So thank you, Patreon people.
Thank
Y'all
you.
are wonderful. Anyway, I released an album recently. You can check it out on Spotify and all that stuff. It's Holden Stefan Roy, The Alternative Grind. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Let me know in the comments. You can check it out, some of that on this channel. And I think that's about it for now. So live long and prosper, everyone.
Bye, guys.